This is counterintuitive for most people, but I don't want to make the videos that work for the algorithm, and to a degree, even what people search for when they're looking for coaching guidance, when they're looking for answers on how do they move forward in life, how do they get unstuck, how do they create more clarity in their life around where they're going, their future vision, their dream life, where to take their business, where do they take their career, where do they take this relationship? Because oftentimes the problem you think you have isn't actually the core problem. I spent the last 6 years working with people, coaching people on building that clarity, that crystal clear vision of what life you want to live, how you want to exist within it, how to align your work to your life, how to live in accordance with your principles and values, how to be more authentic. And the challenge is where people get stuck as they go through this work is not in they don't know what they want. The work to figure out very clearly what you want is not that hard, and it doesn't take that long. It's actually very straightforward. We could do that in a few conversations. The challenge is this. It's you dealing with this. You, your head, your heart, your feelings, your thoughts, your beliefs. And that's where most people actually get stuck. That's where the real stuckness exists. And after 6 years of doing this full time, and before that, having spent 16 years in corporate, basically focusing on clarity of approach, direction, vision for companies, the process is the same for people. The challenge is within a company, you've got, tens, hundreds, thousands of people to do the work, to take the action. Within a life, it's just you. You're responsible for taking the action. You're responsible for believing in the vision. You're responsible for taking something forward and making it happen, creating it within your life. And the act of taking something forward, of progressing your life forward, of progressing your work, your business, your relationships, your family, whatever it is that you're trying to progress forward, the things in the way are to a degree external, right? Because we have to deal with circumstances and challenges in our external environment, in the world. However, the things that hold us back are all here. It's all here. It's all the stuff of how we experience this life, how we feel about it. And the core problem that people have is usually within their own experience, the stuff that they're unwilling to feel. A lot of my sessions, or a lot of my conversations with clients coming out of a session, they say this feels like therapy. And it isn't psychotherapy. It's not, your traditional psychological evaluation and diagnosis and then some kind of mental health therapy going forward. But it is therapeutic. And it's a different form of therapy. People cry, people go deep, people say things that they've never told anybody else. Because to excavate this shit within, to understand what's getting in your way of moving forward, it requires you to look at that stuff. And where people get stuck is in their unwillingness to face their own discomfort around their life. Like this gap, if you're here and the core problem is here, the discomfort is in this gap. What are we unwilling to feel in this gap? Because the actions to build a business, make more money, have your dream relationship, the actions are littered on the internet. They're everywhere. Someone can give you some 5, 10, whatever step plan to do X, Y, and Z. Right? There's tons of instruction manuals. However, why we don't move is not going to be in those instruction manuals. And then you're going to beat yourself up for why can't I just take these steps? Why can't I just do these things? But there's this gap is what has to be resolved. Your understanding of yourself, your relationship with yourself. How do you build deep awareness around why you do what you do and how you can move forward with it? How can you resolve the stuckness that sits between where you are and the core things that you're avoiding? The core beliefs that are getting in your way, the stories you tell yourself, the discomfort from the past, the pain of the past. All of that sits in this gap. And that's where most of the core work is. That's the deep work that you can get through therapy, coaching, these kinds of modalities. However, people aren't searching for that. People aren't searching on the internet, or most people aren't searching on the internet for how do I do the deep work with myself? How do I build a deeper sense of self-love and self-trust? I mean, there are videos, on the internet telling you, here's how you build self-trust. Here are the 5-step da-da-da-da-da. But I don't want to make those videos because there is no 5-step answer. There's broad, phases. First, deep kind of recognition and awareness of what's going on within yourself. And then understanding that, teasing that out into the details of what's actually happening as you bring more awareness to your experience to understand what's actually happening in your experience. And then there's building different practices, different exercises for you to start to better understand your relationship with that experience and how do you evolve it. But there's no easy, step-by-step process to lay that out, because for each person, for them to do the final, phase of, figuring out what those exercises are, what practices to build, you can't know that unless you do that first phase of awareness, recognition, and awareness. Bringing awareness to the things that we're unwilling to feel, that sit in this gap between where you are and your core challenges. And after 6 years of working with people on clarity, on defining so explicitly how to move forward, what they want to go towards, we can lay out a clear strategy and a plan. A lot of them don't take it, don't execute on it. And that's where this work comes in. That's where navigating this gap comes in. And that's the deep work. And so I know that my videos won't get seen as much as someone else who probably isn't as good of a coach, isn't as good of a guide, because they have, a 10-step video that will go viral much more easily, that'll be saved way more often, because people think, okay, well, if I just follow these 10 steps, I'll get X. I'll have self-love. I'll have self-trust. I'll have, sound life formula for being my authentic self. But there is no formula. There is no go out and speak your mind in this way, test it in this arena. Say this. Those will give you a sense. Those will give you often a false sense of trust, of love, of authenticity. But unless you understand this core challenges that stand in the way of those deep desires of feeling secure, of feeling safe, of feeling free, of feeling loved, of feeling enough, of feeling valuable, worthy. Because all of those things have nothing to do with you doing more. We are lovable, enough, worthy as we are. We don't question whether babies are lovable or worthy or whether they're enough. And they don't do shit. They are utterly dependent on other people. They provide no economic productive value except to be this being. And people love them and honor them and care for them. Same thing with puppies, same thing with, the pets that we love, the other living beings in our life that do absolutely nothing except are themselves. And so that's the work, is how do you be you? And it's not about doing more, because we will do things. No one is going to lie in a bed for their entire life and do absolutely nothing. But the challenge that a lot of us in society have is we think that, well, if we do these things, then we can get the life that we want. And then we can enjoy it. But the doing becomes a lot easier and a lot more seamless and a lot more frictionless if you are ourselves first, if we understand who we are, why we are, how we are, so that we can go out and exist as us, so we can go do things as us, without believing that if we do these things, then we can be enough, be valuable, be lovable. And so I don't know how many people search for, how do I be lovable? How do I be enough? And I've been trying different videos on YouTube for the past year. And there are ways in which I can definitely adjust certain things. So I'm not saying that I can't get better and learn. But fundamentally, there is something that I deeply resist around how we offer guidance and help and kind of education on the internet, especially around self-help, personal development, that whole category of content. Because so many people that will get tons of views, tons of engagement, tons of saves, tons of shares are not resolving the core problem. And the core problem is, how do you want to be with yourself so that you can be as true and honest as you are with other people in any setting, whether professional, romantic, friendship, family? It starts with that core stuff. It starts with navigating our emotional world. It starts with understanding what is the resistance within us that keeps us from moving in the directions that we want to go, that keep us from the things we most want, that keep us from doing the things that will get us the life that we want, the impact that we want. Because what the internet is really good for is, if you do have a thing you want to do, you can search that, right? And you can figure out, okay, endless ways to make money, endless ways to build something, build a business, endless ways to get a job, endless ways to find love. There are tons of people that are teaching the to-dos. But when it comes to yourself, when it comes to being more you, when it comes to authenticity, when it comes to living a more aligned life, that's far less about the doing and far more about the being. And the being comes with you being willing to be with your full experience. Not just what you have in the present, but all of this stuff that you're unwilling to examine, that keeps this core challenge stuck within you. Because oftentimes the things that we're stuck on all come from this core challenge or challenges, but they're often very enmeshed. They're often all connected. And so I'm hoping that I can find the people who are interested in doing the deep work, who are looking at their relationship with their emotions and their emotional world, their emotional experience. Because as much as our world wants us to believe that emotions are this thing you can set aside, that you can feel this thing and be like, I don't want to feel it, let's put it over here, I'm just going to go do all these things. That's not really how it works. Because every single one of us leads with our emotions. Every single one of us feels in this world. We feel from our experiences. We internalize experiences. We bring it internally and we feel things from it. And as much as we want to believe, it's like, oh, we can think our way out of something. If only I just, change my thinking. Well, how do you think you change your thinking? It's all within you, right? So you have to be with your thinking. You have to be with your experience of those thoughts of your life. And so that deep emotional work is the crux of the work. And I'm hoping that I can find the people that want to do that work.